Hey everybody, Dr. Birch here again. So we're going to continue our reaction. We're actually going to start a reaction now. So we've got our evaporating dish. We heated it up for 3 to 5 minutes and let it cool down. You can see I can hold it, so it's pretty cool. We can put it on the balance now. So this is what the evaporating dish just looks like. So you can see it. It's basically just like a ceramic bowl. It's used for putting liquids in that we can then evaporate off the water, hence evaporation dish. So I've got our balance here, and I'm gonna put our evaporation dish system on here, and you're gonna record this as M1 on your data sheet. So wait a second for it to kind of stabilize. All right, so record this mass as M1 on your data sheet. It's the mass of the evaporating dish system. So now that takes care of step 3. So moving on to step 4 here, we've got to weigh out approximately 0.45 grams of sodium bicarbonate into our evaporating dish. All right, so I've got our evaporating dish here on the balance. So I'm just going to zero the balance with the evaporating dish on it. That way we can just weigh out our sodium bicarbonate directly into our evaporating dish. So we've got sodium bicarbonate. It's just baking soda. You probably have this in your own kitchen. So we're gonna weigh out 0.45 grams, I think is what it says. I don't know exactly how much that looks like, so I'm gonna add it kind of slowly. About halfway there, a little less. Just need a little bit more, almost there. Cool. All right, so it says approximately 0.45, so 0.421, that's pretty close. So record this as the mass for M2 on your data sheet, not M2. What? Oh, sorry, we have to put this on here. Apparently we're supposed to weigh the whole thing. Okay. So we have our whole system with the sodium bicarbonate in it now. So record this as M2 on your data sheet. That mass before was our mass of sodium bicarbonate, which if you subtract the two, you should get the same number. All right, so now we've got M2. So in step 5 here, we're gonna add 8 milliliters of hydrochloric acid to our evaporating dish. So we've got some hydrochloric acid here, graduated cylinder. So we're gonna measure out 8 milliliters. So let me find the markings. All right. Kind of takes a while to add 8 mils, and we're adding it dropwise here. All right, so now we're to 7. One more drop. Cool. All right, so that's then our 8 milliliters, and we need to add this dropwise. So I can't really pour out drops of this from our graduated cylinder. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour this into a beaker, and then we're gonna use a pipette to then add it dropwise. So we're just gonna add all of this dropwise to our sodium bicarbonate. So you should see it kind of sizzle, right? So that's producing our reaction. Remember, we're producing CO2 gas, which kind of causes it to bubble. We're also making water, which are going to evaporate off, and sodium chloride, which we're going to collect in our evaporating dish here. So this is like the reaction that people do in like the little volcanoes when you add sodium bicarbonate and vinegar. That's essentially the same type of reaction. So we're basically making a carbonated solution when we're producing CO2 in our water here. So we've added almost half of our HCl to it, so we're going to keep adding this. So we've only got a little bit more to add here. All right, so that's then all of our hydrochloric acid that we've now added to our evaporating dish. So you can see it's still kind of sizzling a little bit, so that's still a little bit of the reaction that's going on. It's just all of that HCl is reacting with all of that sodium bicarbonate that we added to it initially. So the next step in our procedure, so we measured out 8 mils of 1 molar hydrochloric acid. Our next step, step 6, tells us to gently add the acid dropwise. We just did that. Step 7, put the evaporating dish system back on the wire gauze and slowly heat it to dryness. So we're just going to kind of heat it up, not so quickly that it boils over all the water, but just so enough that it starts to evaporate that water. And then we're going to keep heating it up until it's, quote, bone dry, and then we'll let it cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, put my watch glass back on top here. So we have our system and putting it back on our wire gauze. So now we're just going to heat it back up, again like we did last video, using our Bunsen burner. All right, so now we're just going to heat this up, and we're going to evaporate all of the water that we have in our evaporating dish, right? Because all of that hydrochloric acid solution has reacted with the sodium bicarbonate. So now we've just got water and our salt, sodium chloride. So we'll evaporate all the water, leaving behind just the sodium chloride. So basically evaporating salt water. So we'll go ahead and stop this video here, and we'll come back after it's dried and after it's cooled.